going to start very soon. Actually, we usually start before getting into questions, asking if there is somebody that is new to this meeting. We regularly have some people that come here for the first time, some others that are customers that have been here many times. So if there is someone for who this is the first time and you want to introduce yourself, say hi, you're welcome to do so. We're happy to have you with us. And maybe we don't, because I kind of see all the names I see, it's all well-known names. So um, if we don't have any of that, then we can get the meeting started. We had a new structure in which we're going to share a list of questions we have received on the chat. So that's a Google Doc that is readable by you so that you can see what are the questions we're going to be discussing today. And I'm going to start sharing my screen and then going over that document and then showing also the response in demo. We're going to go with the questions that have been sent to us during the week in the order that they were sent to us. And then if we have more time at the end of the meeting and we have additional time, we can answer other live questions. Also, if you have questions live about something that I'm explaining, if something is not clear, you can always interrupt me, unmute, and ask for precisions, because I want to make sure that every question we treat is fully answered. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing this screen. On that screen is my document with questions. Here, Anastasia, you shared the document to the link in the chat, right?
Yes.
Cool. So a few quick reminders. If you want to have your questions discussed at the Q&A webinars, monthly webinars, you need to send your emails ahead of time to hvusers@helpfulvillage.com. Basically, what happens then is that Anastasia puts those questions to this document, and then once a month we get on Zoom, and then I answer those questions one by one. And we're gonna get right into it right now. Catherine, I think we have Catherine on the call or not? Because sometimes it's better when we have the person interested in the question. Yes,
here.
Hey, perfect, awesome. So sometimes what I do, because it's hard to do a monologue, it's like a happy you kind of summarize your question for other attendants, and then I'll try to give you my answer to the best of my ability. Do you want to give a quick description of what your question is?
Sure. So I have already set up a button so that anybody who wants to become a volunteer can make a donation as well. I am concerned that once I turn it on, that is it going to force the volunteer to make a donation? I'm afraid that it will scare people off if I make them make a donation. So I want to make it a choice. If they like to make a donation, we'd like them to a minimum of $10. Hopefully they'll put in at least 50 for the background check. But that's the idea, is can it be optional to do the donation for a volunteer?
And in particular for the background checks, right?
No,
Right.
I'm actually getting ready to hop on a work call. So let me do that and I'll call you back. Would that be all right?
Let me see if I think we have a mute thing going on. Anastasia, if you can take care of those. Sorry. So let's go in here. So we can do this. I'm going to open demo. Sometimes what I do is, instead of answering your question directly, kind of would like to give some context to other people. So basically what we're talking about is that you can come to any particular volunteer you have in your database. You can also run it for a member. But if you look at that person, you can go to volunteer tab, and then at the bottom of this, you have the possibility to run a background check on this person. You can be here, and then you say, well, I want to run a basic criminal with MVR, motor vehicle report, and you choose the background check you want, and then you send it out. And then from here, you have a couple of options to resend the email. I mean, you need to accept the terms, but then once you accept the terms, you can request a background check for this and that. So, Catherine, this is not the answer. I know you know all of this, but it's just for other people in the call. Now, what happens with the background checks is, well, first, it's a great idea to make sure that you have trustworthy volunteers that are serving your members. So we definitely encourage using background checks. Now, background checks are pretty expensive. They're mentioned here, right? So basically, if you want to run a basic criminal with MVR, every time you request a background check, you can see the fees. Most of the fees in this case is a basic criminal with MVR is $39.49 that goes to the third party that is actually run the criminal background check. There's a small helpful village fee of 99 cents, but basically the big fees are here. This is kind of the minimum if this person is cleared. But then also if there is a hit in the National Criminal Database is additional steps and additional costs to run the background checks in the county criminal search, etc. So usually it's a good idea to be careful with how many background checks you run, or also how you cover for those costs. So we had done a couple of options. One is that you have under financial management, and if you go to fundraising campaigns, you have different fundraising campaigns you can organize, and then we usually provide one that is this one that is specifically dedicated for background checks, where you can customize and put the picture up there, and then description, you can edit this fundraising campaign, and then set up different things, a description that you can have at the top of the donation page. So I think, Catherine, you did already this, basically explaining to you, I think this is a great idea, explain to your volunteers that this is important to run these background checks. The background checks, it cost some money, etc., and it's easier for the organization if they make a donation, and then you can make it optional. So basically, all the explanation, I think you would do it here in the long description by text, and then just save it, and then basically you already have this link for the fundraising campaign that can be shared with your volunteers. Now, as any other background check, when you run them, right? And this I'm logged in, so I can have some search features here in dark gray that people don't see, but if I was logged out, I would see something like this rather. And then when you go down, basically there is already the possibility to add the processing fees that are optional in all fundraising campaigns. Actually, I think there is a setting for that I can show. If you go to settings, and then if you go to money, under money, you can have these background checks here. One of them is add a credit card processing fee option to the donation form. If this is checked, well, then this checkbox asking the person if they want to make a voluntary donation will be showing. Obviously, if you uncheck it, then it will say nothing about this, but we recommend adding it because it's extra money that you can have. By the way, this new monthly feature we introduced this month is the possibility to make credit card processing fees mandatory for membership payments. So obviously not for donation. So I guess, Catherine, that you already have this option checked, which is making the optional donations possible for your donation form. So in that case, that checkbox at the bottom is already showing, right? Which is saying, allowing people to add that donation. So that is good. And then there is another option that I can review, and then we go straight to your question, is that you can have another checkbox here if you want to make this donation a requirement for the background, for the volunteer. So if you check this box, what happens, and here is checked, right? So what happens there is that when you look your volunteer, and you go to the same place where we were before for the background check, volunteer, and then go down here, background checks. Because the donation is mandatory, right? When I check this, and I hit send the email again, this is gonna send the email to the volunteer, asking them to make a donation first before they can be sent. So basically, this is how it is mandatory, sending the email. And now the email that is being sent from here is connected to the email template. So you can go to settings, and then in settings, you go here to email, and then email templates. Yeah, here we go. There is this. I have this template here, which is background check required donation in the email template category of volunteer. If you set it up, basically when you press on that button, this is the email that will be sent out to your volunteer with some additional language. So their first name, and then this is some customizable text you can have for your volunteers when you're explaining how it works and the cost of that you're asking for a donation, etc. And then here you have a link to your fundraising campaign, so that basically they're taken there, so they make their donation. And once you receive the donation, you can actually launch the background check. So, so that's basically the overall kind of situation with the background check donations connection. If you want to have them mandatory or not mandatory, and if you make them mandatory, the process for the admins that it will send out this email template based email to your volunteer, and then you receive the donation and you activate it. Now, Kathleen, maybe you can help me now that we drew the whole context. I think it's okay if you uncheck the box about making them mandatory. You can always basically send them the link. You can create another email template. Doesn't need to be connected to this background task, right? You can just create another template that is associated with no template task, but that you can voluntarily send to that person. Actually, let me do it. So this is the other email template that is automatic for the mandatory background check requirements. Now I'm going to create a new email template with you. And then we would, we are working. We are, okay, background check. Well, so this is the title of the email. So you can come up with better language than this, but it's optional donation for background checks. You can definitely do that cleaner. You don't need to set this one up. And then here you can say that this is associated with a volunteer. Now, this is where it says the auto task. Like in this case, if I don't want to use this template for any auto task that I would do here, I just type my email here and say, dear, and then here's where you put this thing with the F name, the F name. No. Okay, background checks are expensive. This is very bad language, but it's just showing the functionality. Would you consider? Yeah, and then if yes, then link to the fundraising campaign. I'm not copying the link, but I could. So basically just need to open the fundraising campaign and copy the link to the fundraising campaign here, right? And then, but I'm going to put it here and then, and then Catherine, what I'm hoping to show you here is that we created this other new background check template, right? That is not automatic. But this is a possibility, is that you can search the person, your volunteer. And then on the activity tab, you can always manually apply a template to that message. So I can come down here, there's many emails here. Send email to this person. And then I choose a template that would be, I don't remember what was the name of this template? Here, optional donation is this one, optional donation for background check. So if I choose it, it's populating the text that we had. So obviously here, if it includes the link and a better explanation of why would inviting them to do a donation, then you can come down here, send it, right? And then maximizes the chances of them considering making an optional donation or checking that box in the link where you can do anything on this email. You can add a print screen saying, well, when you're doing it, if you're feeling like it, you can check this box at the bottom. It really helps us. So any kind of language, obviously the content you need to come up with it. I'm just showing you the tools are the technique to basically get that message out to your volunteers. So I would do this, create a custom template that is not associated with a background task, and then just send it with this method so that when they are linking here to the background, to the fundraising campaign, that they think twice in checking that box for the background check donation. Catherine, does it answer your question? Do you have another question connected to it? I think you're muted. I see your lips moving, but I cannot read lips yet.
You can't read lips yet?
No, what's happening?
I thought you were better than that, Manuel. Come on.
Yeah, disappointed.
Okay, yes, this is great.
Okay,
so,
cool.
So it's if I uncheck that box, it makes it mandatory. Then
Yeah.
I'm the one that's controlling it. So
Yes.
the volunteer I got last week that I sent through orientation, I can follow up with that email now.
Yeah, you set up a good email template once, right? That you with the language you like, eventually print screens, etc., and the link to the fundraising campaign, and then then you can apply it from the activity tab and then send. Yeah, that's what I would do. That sounds good.
Thank you
Cool.
so much.
Perfect. I'm glad we could answer that one. So that was for Catherine, and it was going a little quick because I know Catherine, you basically had done 80% of the work already. So, but if there's anybody else in the room that wants some, I can go over it or part of it again. I can We can answer other questions from other people about this same question. And if there are no questions about the same question, I can move on to the next one. And the next one is, we're going to Catherine. And I would ask if Catherine is on the call. I didn't see her, and maybe she's not. So some people sometimes send the
I'm
questions.
here.
And oh, perfect. I love it so much better when you are with me. I feel
Yeah, there
less
was two
lonely.
Catherines, so I got confused. I was like, wait,
Okay.
I'm not up yet.
No, cool. And then you saw your questions like, wow, this is a great question. Okay, do you want to share this with the rest of the audience, and then I'll give you my answer. I already read it and prepared my answer, but it's just a way to bring it to other people in the room.
Sure. I just to level set, I did not wasn't involved in the original merger with the Helpful Village and MailChimp.
Yes.
So I'm still kind of trying to catch up on how those two talk to each other.
Yes.
So in the process of doing this and cleaning up our MailChimp account, we had two audiences. I took it down to one audience, but as I was kind of going through to make sure I didn't lose anybody or anything like that, I noticed that the tags for how people are tagged in Helpful Village are different than the tags they have in MailChimp.
Yes.
And from what I read, I thought those like synced up on Thursdays.
Yes.
But I missed something. So I was hoping you could kind of tell me a little bit about like how those two programs talk to each other.
Yes, absolutely. It's a good question. So we're going to do a couple of things for that. First, thank you for helping share this with the rest of the audience. I'm going to answer live during the webinar. I'd like also to ask one of my colleagues, Paulina, is on the call. And then if we can share some of the training docs on, because she has been working hard on the Helpful Village users guide, so that we can find some answers to these questions or additional information. So Paulina, if you find a good article about this, you can share it on the chat with everybody. And then if we don't have a good article, we will write an article or record this video for next time.
And the articles are super, super helpful, but sometimes they're very, very specific to get a single task done. And I'm trying to understand the whole thing.
No, absolutely. And what I'm saying is that this is an excellent question. So, but I'm trying to see with our team so that when we have great questions like this, so that we capture basically the response for other people that will have the same question in the future. But it all makes sense. So I'm happy to explain this. So first, we have Helpful Village, and we invite all villages. It's really a good idea to connect Helpful Village with MailChimp, right? Because that allows you to, when you receive a new member, you add them to Helpful Village. If they want to be on your mailing list, you just hit the MailChimp checkbox, and that syncs them up so that when you send an email to all your active members in Helpful Village, it goes to the right people. So that's the first thing. Now, there is a couple of clarifications that we said before, and Catherine, you were mentioning about this merger, right? When you are using MailChimp on a separate other platform, you actually need to create an account on MailChimp, create a key, and then you send the key to us so that our server can talk to the MailChimp server. And you did that already. When that happens, one first tip for you is that our server will only talk to the audience that is called Helpful Village. So we invite all our customers to create an audience or rename the audience they have and only call it Helpful Village. You can have more than one audience in MailChimp. Anything you have in an audience that is not called Helpful Village, right? Some people might call it, newsletter, and it's a manually managed. We just don't see it. We don't change anything in the audience that is not called Helpful Village. Does that part make sense?
Yeah. So,
cool.
My whoever set this up did not label it Helpful Village. So right there, do I know that those two aren't talking to each other because it's not labeled
yeah, exactly. That right there, you know already that it should not be connecting to that one. So how many audiences do you have today?
Right now, I only have one because I merged them, but neither of them say Helpful Village because none of them did.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah. So basically, I think we have let me see this. So we have a support.helpfulvillage.com. And this
but like all the contacts were uploaded. Like at one point, I'm assuming she didn't enter 600 people manually.
Yes.
So you can they talk to each other.
That's why. Yeah. So that's why there is kind of a right way to put it up. So basically, this is a training document, right? You can look up in the Help Center, saying why should you, and then how to create the keys. And then once here, you see there is this one sentence here. So once you have created a MailChimp account, you have an API created, you have to create an audience named Helpful Village, right? Now, let me see what, kind of try to see what happened with you, right? So one thing that might have happened is that if you already had an audience, you can always bring people in that other manual audience. For example, you can run a report on Helpful Village, right, of your members or people in a group, right? And that you can create an export, and then you can go to MailChimp and manually import, right? So that may be what happened. But then it's not synced up because it's just if it's not called Helpful Village, we're just not working with it. So our recommendation is that if you have already an audience there that is mixed up or coming from we don't know exactly where, I would create a fresh new one that you call Helpful Village, right, with this particular name. And we make sure that it's connected with the API keys, etc. And then what happens is that then you will go to Helpful Village here, and then you go people management groups. And then inside groups, you will have a tag people. And in your tags, you will have one that is called MailChimp. That's so funny. And then once you have that MailChimp one, there is a button at the bottom here that says synchronize with MailChimp. When you hit synchronize, what happens is the Helpful Village is going to send all the email addresses and first name and last names of everyone that has this checkbox here. And this checkbox here comes from the fact that they have a valid email and the MailChimp checkbox checked on their profile. So that basically, once you do that, you don't need to add or remove people to MailChimp because we're going to do that automatically for you. I actually said on Thursday. Now we're doing it twice a week. So I think it's Thursdays and Mondays or something like that. Yeah, so basically what I think is like maybe the person before you was doing that manually. They produce, you see that what you can do here, you can export a CSV report, spreadsheet file, and then you can go on MailChimp, import it. I mean, we certainly don't recommend that. That's a manual way to do it, but then you need to do it all the time because we're not going to updating when a new member signs up, right? The way we recommend is having an audience that is called Helpful Village and then just come here. We synchronize it automatically, or you can also manually synchronize it anytime you want with this button here. Now, when we synchronize, we do several things. One is on this MailChimp group. We're going to synchronize everybody will be added to MailChimp. Now, beyond adding to MailChimp, we offer you the possibility to create other tags in Helpful Village right here. You can come down here and create a new group in the tagged people category. And once you do that, for example, here we have Legacy Givers. It's a tag that was manually created. And then any of these tags, you can come here and say, add to MailChimp. By default, your tags are not synchronized with MailChimp because you only invite you to those that you want to add. When you hit add to MailChimp, the tag will be created in MailChimp, and then you can synchronize that tag with MailChimp. So the person in MailChimp will have the same tags that are coming from Helpful Village for this particular group.
The tags, so when I import it all or sync them up, the tags aren't going to MailChimp as well?
Yes, they're going to MailChimp, yes. So if you do it the right way, right, with the right audience name, with the API key, we will synchronize the tags automatically for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if it was done in any different way, right, you said the audience name was not the same, and probably, I don't know if you have the API keys, we'll review that with your team. So you can open a ticket with our team. We're happy to see if we have a valid key MailChimp to synchronize. And then we will invite you to rename your audience or create a new audience. I would say don't delete the one you have, right? Because we want to rebuild a good MailChimp list first. And then once we sync it up in the right way and you have everybody in the Helpful Village audience, I don't think you need the other manual one, but I mean, don't be too quick to delete it. Let's build the new one first and then we do that.
Okay. And how do I submit? I submit the ticket kind of like how I submitted questions here.
Yeah, the best way to support a ticket is this. You go to support helpfulvillage.com here, and then you come here, and then this is the help center, and you submit a request. The best way to do that is that when you're here, and then you type your email address, and then you put the subject and say, okay, I want to sync my MailChimp account. And the good thing about this is that sometimes when you're typing the ticket, you will find the answer down here. It's like, how to sync participant. With an event. This is exactly what I wanted. I don't need to submit the ticket anymore because all of this is already some training documents that are dealing with this. And if the answer is not here, well, then just keep going, put the description of the ticket and just send it, and our team will receive it and respond to you.
Okay. So, and the second kind of part of my question
Hmm.
was that, thank you for that. That is helpful, and I'm seeing where the problems are.
Uh-huh.
The second part of my question was kind of, can you elaborate a little on what the difference is between the tags
Hmm.
and the groups? And like
Yeah,
when we first signed up, were there automatically groups and tags in there, or were
yeah,
they all
yeah,
created
yeah.
like by my predecessor?
No, no, no. That's a really interesting question. Um, Let me see if I can log in here to my MailChimp account for demo. Uh, uh, mm,
Well, and I was thinking, oh, is there groups and tags in MailChimp, or is it just
yes,
tags?
no. So there is groups and tags
Um,
in MailChimp. So let me
okay.
just put my password here. MailChimp. Mm, Security makes it more fun. Okay, you see, this is where you see the audiences. This audience is not synchronized with Helpful Village. You see, it's called something else. It's actually when we invite people for webinars. And this one that is called Helpful Village, you should have. This is the one that is synchronized automatically with your Helpful Village platform. Okay, now we're in the right audience. Um, and now that we're in the right audience, here you have tags. And then I don't know where you would have groups. Let me see where the groups are. Can search here. Groups. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is good. So when you synchronize with Helpful Village, we're creating groups for you. You're creating the active members group, the volunteers group, the prospects group, etc. Now, if I search that again, let me do it. Okay, look at this. Let's go slowly with this one because it's funny. The groups in MailChimp, and this is not Helpful Village. We're purely in MailChimp right now, right? So MailChimp has these two different elements, groups and tags, right? So let's read this slowly, what they say. And I have not read this before because they have changed this. They use groups to sort your subscribed contacts based on their interests and preferences. Okay, cool. Like that makes sense. You can have a group of your active members because they have shared something. Okay, cool. Now, what's the definition of a tag? Tag are customizable labels you create to help organize your contacts. Now, I'll give you 10 seconds to see what the difference is. And then I'll tell you, in my mind, there is no difference. Just, if you put a tag on 10 people, you're forming a group of 10 people that have that tag. So functionally, um, I would say, break your brain with that one. At the very beginning, I think there is historical reason. I think MailChimp in the very early versions, when we started working with them, they only had groups, right? And then for some marketing reason, right? Some marketing guru said, "Oh, wow, what happened? MailChimp doesn't have tags. So what if they had tags?" And they added tags and they work in the exact same way. Because you put a person in a group or you tag a person with a tag, it's like you're still creating a subgroup of people that can receive this message. But these two different objects exist in MailChimp. So when we're talking with Helpful Village, right, that is synchronized, there is something kind of a little tip you might remember. Everything that is here in mailing lists, right? Like active members, active volunteers, all prospects, etc. All these are things that are synchronized automatically by Helpful Village. For example, if you go to the list of active members here, you cannot add or remove people here to this mailing list because you're in the active members mailing list automatically based on your status and expiration dates. Okay. But then everything that is on this mailing list, it will translate into groups in MailChimp, right? So that's why we saw there was the active members, etc. And then everything that you have under tag people, right? So if you Helpful Village tags will translate into MailChimp tags.
And those are the tags that the people get when you like enter them, or
Yes,
they are
exactly.
automatically put into these groups.
Yes. So let me see if
Okay.
I find someone here. But now again, when should it be a group? When should it be a tag? No, doesn't matter too much. And then let me find this one. When you go on MailChimp, right, and you look up a person, it will say here, well, this is a test user that is not in any. Let me see if I find a better one. I have many test users with my name, so it's hard. Hoping that my main user here in Helpful Village is this user. Now you see, if you look it up in MailChimp, it has all these tags here. See, dinner club, legacy, whatever, they are going to show in MailChimp this way. And I'm also in the groups, you see, because this person is an active member, an active volunteer, and stuff like that. So MailChimp has both the tags and the groups. Now, if you want to connect that with how it works in Helpful Village, the mailing list become groups, the tags in Helpful Village become tags. Now, is it better to have one or the other? It doesn't change anything. Just two different classifications of people. And you can, then when you're on MailChimp, you don't, you can find those tags should have the same tags in Helpful Village that you have here on MailChimp. Make sense?
So the page that you were just on, the Helpful Village page you were just on that had the mailing list, that one.
Yes, this one. This is group categories. So this is people manage. I know maybe you know this, but for other people, you go to people management groups, and then you get here. Yes.
What's its function?
So
how do people utilize this page if they're not when they use MailChimp?
Yeah, well, this is essentially for admins, right? Like, for example, you have, you're setting up your volunteer activities, right? So first of all, you need to look at this first column, right? Of the group categories. There are 6 group categories, and each group category contains some groups, right? So the group categories start here. You have a group category of the volunteer service, right? Another group category of village builders, another group category, which is tag people, group category that is mailing list, interest groups, etc. So each one of these group categories is a little different. If you go into the group category that is called volunteer services, right? These actually are your volunteer groups that you do for members, right? If you are offering, when you're creating a service request, right? A person might need a ride, or they may need computer assistance, etc. So these things, you see, look at this. You have computer whiz, dentist, drive, errand, friendly visit, okay? And then you enter on any of these groups. If I click on it, it has 60 people. I can see all my volunteers. Well, some are active, some are inactive, but you can see all the volunteers that do this, right? And then, if I click on any of the volunteers here, right, I go to the volunteer profile. And these activities here, you see, then a person has multiple volunteer activities, and a group has multiple people. It's different ways to see them, you see?
So they'll automatically end up in that group list that we were just on when those boxes are checked.
Yes, for example, let's do that together, right? If we go to this other group, and you have dentist, I go to dentist here. There is Anastasia Rossi here, okay? And then we just saw Christina does not have that volunteer activity. So if I can add another volunteer here, because I'm adding my list of volunteers, and then Cristina Acevedo is one, I'm adding her as another active volunteer. So now the dentist, has 2 different volunteers, right? Okay. And now I click on Christina's profile and I go to see her volunteer activities. Obviously now
this is just so you can look up who is my computer whiz, and you can go into those groups and look up who.
Yes. Okay. And then you can do different things from the group too, right? For example, if you want to add this group, right, and then suddenly you want to send an email to your drivers, right? I don't like dentists too much because that's a test that is a little dark. But if you want to know who your drivers are, you go to the group, and here you can see all the drivers, all the people that have the checkbox driver as a volunteer activity, right? It's a way to see them. And then if you want to print the list of all your drivers, you just come down here, export CSV, you have a spreadsheet file with all of them. You can synchronize it with MailChimp right here too, right? And if you synchronize it with MailChimp, then what happens is that it becomes available in the email messenger. You can go here, email messenger, new email, and then I'm sending this to my mailing list. Mailing list. And my mailing list is not my mailing list. Wait a minute, let me think. No, it's here. It's volunteer services. And then I'm sending this to all my drivers. Now, you see 2 things. First, I only see 2 activities, the drivers, computer whiz. So they can become available here. The only difference in each one of the groups, you have a button so to see if you want to add them to MailChimp. Because if you're not sending them emails, right, then you don't add them to MailChimp. But once it's added with MailChimp and it can be synchronized with MailChimp, if you have a message that you specifically want to send to your drivers, you just compose your message here. There is an urgent request for a ride to the airport. And then you say more, right? And then you just send it. Well, then it's going to go to all your drivers at once. So that's why there is a group of drivers.
Okay.
Make sense?
All right.
Well,
I think I'm understanding. Thank you. I know that was a lot of questions.
No. And it's also interesting because, So you can see things from two different perspectives. If you're looking at a group, it contains some volunteers. If you look at a volunteer, it belongs to multiple groups. So it's like, wait a minute, what is the right way to look at this? There are other type of groups, right? So these are your volunteer activities that you do for a member. Village builders are activities, volunteer activities or groups that you do, volunteer groups of things people can do for the organization. So if you have people that are doing phone outreach or that are doing data entry or something like that, they can log their hours. Also, these groups here are connected to different features. The volunteer services and village builders, right? They will become available if you have volunteer groups for those activities to the service request. I can create a service request, right? And then here I can see that, these are the same groups that we saw before. And then if this is a village builder request, well, these are also the groups that we created on that other groups area, right? So you create volunteer groups, and these volunteer groups become volunteer activities. And these volunteer activities are useful to create new service requests. Make sense?
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Cool. That was nice. So now, just as a follow-up action, I would say you can create a ticket. We will check if we have a good API key and if we're syncing with your MailChimp audience, which I think we're not because it doesn't have the right name. And then we will follow up with you individually, right, through ticket, so that we invite you how to create this audience and then synchronize it. You need to send us the key, and then you will have everyone working, with the automatic synchronization. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next question. We have Marianne from Charlottesville, Virginia. And same thing. I don't know if Marianne is on the call, because that would be wonderful. Sometimes not everyone is on the call. That's more fun. I don't see Marianne. So when she's not on the call, I can read the question for her, but it's more of a monologue, so I don't like it as much. So this is about reports. There are a lot of reports available at the touch of a button, but there's a lot we don't know about these reports. Okay. So yeah. Let me go there first. So you can go admin reports, and then we have different type of reports. You have general. Here is essentially a dashboard of some charts that are automatically calculated for you. Membership evolution is a really nice one. It shows you if you're gaining or losing members. And then reporting docs is essentially where you find most of the reports in the database, and you can find reports about volunteers, people, organizations, volunteer activities, events, prospect, payments, donation, any activity you have on Helpful Village, you can produce a report on it. So that's just showing for people that don't know where to find it. And now let's go into the question. It would be nice to know when choosing a report on the button itself, whether it would be instant or nearly instant, or it would have to run in the background and be delivered to email. Cool. So this is a great question. I can explain. When we come down here, there are some reports that come back automatically to you live in the same second. Let me see. I don't know exactly which one for sure it is. But let's say, for example, that you have, let's try active volunteers, right? I open it up, and then I say, okay, active volunteers on what date and this date, and I need this report with addresses, email, phone, etc. And you need their tags. You can add more checkboxes depending on the information you need for them. And you click on the report, and you wait for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Please producing the report at this time. And now it downloaded to my computer. I can open it up. Now I'm not sharing my spreadsheet file, the software, but I received it live, the report on my computer. So that is a report that was produced automatically. And synchronously, kind of immediately, right? But there are other reports. For example, I'm going to show you, but I just need to close Excel here that opened up in my computer. I know you don't see it, but it's annoying me. I'm going to come back to my browser. Now, there are other reports that are bigger. So basically, there are other reports. For example, I know all people, right? If you want to print all people, you can have a database with 5,000 people. Active volunteers are more reasonable numbers, right? Like you can have, I don't know, maybe you have 100 volunteers, so we can produce that report live immediately in real time. If you're printing all people and that's 5,000 people, we can just not, it takes some time for the server to compute it. So if you run all people report, you can run this report. You can say all people is going to give you all the reports that were created between 2020 and 2025 for 5 years. The people, everyone that has been created in this time period, good. And you can say, okay, let's add this, and I need their birthdays, etc. And then I create the report. Now, this report is a lot heavier. We understand this because not just 100 people that are current live active reports, but for some reason we need to have everyone in the database that is sent to you. Now, this report is a lot heavier. So it cannot be produced in real time because just the browser, when you request it, it's going to wait for a little bit, I don't know, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. And if they don't get an answer from the server, you just will get a timeout message saying, well, we don't have an answer from the server. Well, you don't have an answer because the server is really busy working on this. So for the really big reports, what we do is that the interactive worker on the server is going to hand it to what we call an asynchronous worker, which is another ant in the server that is basically produce that report, not immediately, but it's going to put it on a queue so that it's going to calculate, produce that report, and then send you an email. That's when the report is ready. Some of these reports are very heavy, right? If we're producing a report for 5,000 people, sometimes we don't want them to work in the middle of the day because, we have, I don't know, 50 villages that are doing volunteer service or registering for events. We want to keep real-time operation for those live interactive features and then do the heavy reports overnight. So this one in particular, all people, and it says it here, has a comment say this report will be produced overnight. So basically, you can request it now, but it's going to be scheduled in the queue. And then at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., when everyone's sleeping and there's not that much traffic on the website, we're going to produce the report, send that email back to you. So that's the difference between interactive live reports and reports that are heavier and that need to be scheduled. Now, it's a good thing that we're scheduling them. That's the first thing to understand. I know that sometimes we are like saying, well, it would be great to have everything immediately. But everything has consequences. If we have 10 villages that are producing reports with 5,000 people, the server can just not respond to interactive requests. So it's actually a good thing that we're scheduling them for overnight to help you get fast service during the day. Now, the question, she was not questioning that, but basically what she's saying is that it would be nice if we are telling you if that report will be instant or if it will be running the background and be delivered by email. And I agree with that one. Sometimes we're saying it, here we say it, the report will be produced overnight. And in the other one, active volunteers, we're not saying it, right? Because there are some comments that we can add on those reports. So I take note of this. And I'm actually going to ask for my teammates to make a note of this so that we can add that note, an explanation saying, well, this is a live report. It's going to be produced instantly, right? Or for some other reports telling, well, this is going to be produced overnight. Or sometimes, for example, you can have in the middle. I know active members, we don't have the comment. So we should be, it's an improvement request and I like it. It's like we should say for each one of the reports, which ones will be produced instantly, which ones will take, maybe 5 minutes. I think active members takes 5 minutes to produce or something like that. And which ones are done overnight because they're crazy busy. You have all people with 5,000 people, that one. But so it's just a communication question. And I agree, we can communicate, we can make a note on that pop-up box that is informing you when will you get the result of that report. Okay, next question. It would be nice to know what exactly the report will tell us. For example, what do we get in the service request report? Sorry, it's my minute of comedy, but the service request report contains the service requests. How does that differ from what we get in total volunteer hours? So obviously service requests here, it's when you go volunteer service requests. Well, the information you get on that report is pretty much this information, right? So that one was pretty obvious. I think maybe the question, I understand, it's more interesting is this other report that it says total volunteer hours. And obviously service requests are volunteer hours. And this is another report, and this is a good question, indeed. You go to reporting docs, and you go to volunteers here, and you have, what did we say? Volunteers activity. What was the name? Sorry. Total volunteer hours. Do you see it here? Oh, here it is. Volunteer activity here. Total volunteer hours. And this is a different report. Now, the reality of this is that the total volunteer hours includes volunteer hours in different categories. It's a combination of service requests, reporting hours. The reporting hours is a different module. This is basically when a member makes a request or the village is posting an ad to request a volunteer, it becomes a service request. Reporting hours is different. You can come here. When you go here, volunteers, and people can report their hours. For example, if they were working on a marketing plan, on fundraising, that is not upon request. There's nobody saying, okay, we need, it's not a transaction of an hour of doing something, but it can be a project that you're doing for 10 hours. That would go into the reporting hours. And that other report here, which was called total volunteer hours, includes the volunteer hours that are done for service requests, that are done for reporting hours. And I think they also include the volunteer hours that are being done for the check-ins. So it's a broader report. Now, the question is how to know exactly what that report contains. Well, yeah. Okay, so that's cool. So basically, I understand that obviously we would like to have descriptive names for the reports, but I understand that the request here is having a better description of the reports in the user's guide or in the documentation. So that I'm translating that to my colleagues, so Anastasia and Paulina, probably receiving this so that we can have for the non-obvious reports, right? Like these total volunteer hours, so that we have a description in our documentation, it makes sense. And then as for the videos, sometimes we do training videos. Some people like learning with videos. Some other people like reading with the training docs. So I think Marian doesn't like the videos too much, and that's fine. But we will post both. For example, some of the questions we're getting here today, and then we're recording this, those will be answered in a video, because some topics are more interesting to answer in videos. But then here, I agree with her too. Like this should be in a document where we're explaining what the reports are for, or what are the different, for example, describing total volunteer hours should be in a document, a training document somewhere. So we'll find the right place to put it. So it's a good request. Okay, next question. With some reports, a window pops up that supposedly allows us to check what variables to include. So this is what I showed, right? So here, if you go to, let's say active members, I think she's referring to this. If you check this box, it contains more questions. It contains the notes, the membership. Now, she is saying here that in her experience, no matter what she checks, every single variable is included. So obviously we don't want that. We would like to know on what report that happens. So maybe we forgot in one of the reports, or maybe it's not working necessarily, but every time you find something kind of interesting or something for us to look at, if you can give us more details about what was the report where those checkboxes were not working as expected, we would be happy to look into those. And obviously, we added that feature with the checkboxes so that the report is a little smaller and that it doesn't include information that you don't need. So making it easier for you to find things, also a little easier for us to produce the report. If it doesn't contain, 20 megs per record. So yeah, obviously, if we forgot to make these checkboxes work for our report, we're gonna fix it. If you can give us the specific name of the report where that happened, it's easier for us rather than go fishing for a problem, kind of fix a problem that we know exists. Next question. Yes.
Before you continue, we have a question from Susan from
Yes.
Petaluma.
Yes.
She's asking, what is the difference between the reports named the same and the payments and donations and those under donations and payments?
Okay, so we're talking about this thing here?
Yes. Well, I think so.
Okay, so two things. So basically, these are the reporting docs, right? If you go down here, then you hear payments and donations. All of these that are top of this, these are essentially document reports. Like sometimes they're PDF. Usually when they're PDF, it says PDF like this, PDF. If it says nothing, it's going to be a CSV file, which is a spreadsheet file. Basically here, if you go down to payments and donations, these are spreadsheet files for payments, donations, and then you have different combinations. You can have payments excluding the donations, the IOUs, and donor list. And as you keep scrolling down here, this is not a document report. This is actually the interactive list. So if I click on this one, it's not a document. It's a list, right? Interactive list of donations on the website. Now, we had this here for historical reasons, because it's not really a report. This is just a way to find this. I know in a more recent version, we had remodeled this menu option here under financial management. So if you go under financial management, now you have the payments, donations, fundraising campaigns, and the IOUs. So now that we have them better sorted here, we could put, this is gonna probably disappear from here because this has been, put in the navigation somewhere else. They are not really reports. They're related to reports maybe, but yeah. So basically, the ones here at the bottom are interactive because they were located there before. They will probably disappear from there in a future version, and you can find them here under financial management. These are not reports; these are the interactive lists. Cool. Thank you for the question. Coming back to here, there's just to finish with Marian, could we have a volunteer birthday report? Maybe just one report that has everyone's birthday. Also somewhere that shows when each volunteer started working with us. Maybe just instead of a report, add it to the active volunteers list. Yeah, so basically, okay, good. Okay, so there are multiple things here. So when you go to the volunteer profile, there is a volunteer since date, right? When they started, which what she's asking for is to have in the spreadsheet file. And then the active volunteers list, actually in all the volunteer reports, yeah, we should have it. Sometimes we forget a column there in the report, but we should have the volunteers since. If we forgot it, we will add it for the next monthly release. So Anastasia, if you can make a note, right, for the next monthly improvement, definitely the volunteer since date should be in the active volunteers report. We just forgot it. And we do this. And the member report, they have the expiration dates and the active members list. So that we're doing already, and we should just forgot this one column in this report. And then as for the birthday report, so for that one, you have members' birthdays here. Now the question was about volunteer birthdays. Maybe we don't have specific volunteer birthdays, but what I think we have is that you have your active volunteers. I'm wondering if that information is included in one of those checkboxes here. Socioeconomics. I don't know if we have the birthday here. We'll need to look into that because I don't remember. But obviously, yeah. I mean, I like the idea. We should have the volunteer birthdays report. So that's a good suggestion. Cool. Okay, so we can move on to the next one. And we have a question from Diane. I don't know if Diane is on the call from Clayton Valley. And she's not. We have Nancy from Clayton Valley.
Yeah, Diane.
Yeah.
Diane didn't make it on today, and I haven't been able to reach her. I'm wondering if we can hold her off to the beginning of next month.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We can do that. It's a lot better, nicer to when we have people live. We only have a couple of minutes, so we'll put that question for next webinar. And then we have Donald Sheridan.
I did see something early on from someone that you said you'd add it to. Anastasia said she'd add it to the list, but it was about why are we getting so many 503 or 504 error messages right now?
Yeah.
So I thought maybe you could just kind of explain what's going on.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Things are a little wonky right now.
Yeah. So we did a webinar on it last Wednesday. And explain the reason. Actually, the reason is that we have changed all our customers and put them on fresh new servers. So obviously, when we change all these machines, some settings problems and stuff like that, and also the configuring the new infrastructure. So we were aware of that basically instability. There has been a lot of server work. I don't know, Anastasia, do you have the link to the slides of the last webinar we did? So we should share that on the chat too. But basically what happened is like when we started the company about 10 years ago, we just went with, writing a lot of code for the interactive website. And then, but basically for the servers, we wanted some servers that were just working, easy to configure, right? So that's what you do with an early stage company. But now we have grown the company to hundreds of customers. So this was time to come to more enterprise ready servers, kind of a more solid, efficiency oriented servers, etc. And so basically we have now moved all our customers to better servers. So I know there is a little bit of a discomfort and errors in configuration errors in the last few weeks because we need to activate this new infrastructure, but the new infrastructure is a lot more solid. I'm a lot happier, and this is something that's going to stabilize. It's getting a lot more stable. And I don't know if I was looking at the chat. I don't know if Anastasia, if you found the link to the document, but yeah, first we apologize for the inconvenience with the servers, but we have been working into setting this up. There are some technical details about the work we did that you can find. Oh, there you go. Can I open it? Yeah, so this is the webinar we did last week. And then we're explaining the here new servers. Yeah. So you can, this document is public, so you can review it, and then it's explaining why we did it, growth and stability, the specific work that we have done on the server. So I know it's a little bit uncomfortable because when we're deploying new servers, obviously there is some off time and there is some fine tuning of the servers. But that should stabilize now. They should be gotten a lot better. So I apologize for the temporary.
Manuel, with these new
work.
servers, can some of the reports run faster?
Yes, even the website runs faster. So maybe let me see if I can find one slide about it here. Yeah, this is maybe the most important thing that we said in the server last time is that in the beginning, Helpful Village served only a few customers, and we had system infrastructure that was lighter. Now, with more demand on our platform, we needed to move everyone out of the older servers and then getting stronger servers and a better architecture. So we did it for a number of different, and I say servers, the different tools that are used for the server, but essentially it's having a stronger performance, reduced memory usage, and having a stable service with fewer interruptions. So obviously there is some interruption when we're switching, right, and going to the new servers. But now that we have completed the switch, there's still some fine tuning going on, but it's, yeah, reports are faster, the website is faster, and then servers will become more stable now that we have completed this work. Yeah, now there's another question on the chat, and it's 59. We're approaching the time of the hour, so maybe this might be the last question. I know there was a question from Donald, but we'll take that question for the next webinar. I'm going to answer the question from Katie because it's related to the same server.
So my question is, we have a lot of, we've had a lot of bad gateway error messages in the last 2 days, and I know you've already addressed that. But I'm wondering is, you said there was a webinar. Do those messages go out to the admins or to the current customers? And how do we find out about this?
Yeah,
I feel like we got any notice.
So the most reliable communication channel about this is Slack, really, because basically that, when you're working on something, it just gets immediately out to everybody. And the good thing about Slack is that, everyone can just go there and see what's going on. So sometimes we don't want to have people complaining. I mean, we send some emails, right? Inviting people to come to the webinar and stuff like that. But if we send too many emails, then people just don't like it. So basically, we always post everything to Slack and then email a little bit more rarely, but we obviously do too. And then that maybe a best way to finish the webinar is if I was mentioning Slack. If you're not in Slack, you don't know what Slack is. Slack is a tool that we're using where we have communication with our customer base. It's basically a discussion board where basically villages can go on and read about our announcements. And, basically we announced that we're working on servers, that, there was going to be some downtime and why we were doing it. There is also an opportunity on that to basically ask questions to us, but also ask questions to other villages. So if you're not on Slack, you can also create a ticket and you go, same ticket mechanism as before. And Anastasia will send you an invite to join the conversation on Slack. Cool. I don't know. That's basically all I got for now. We're top of the hour. Maybe just one last question to my team. If there's something in the chat that I should mention, Anastasia or Paulina, did you see something that should be discussed before we leave today? Or do you think we covered pretty much everything we could cover today?
We have one question.
Okay.
We have several questions. We didn't. Okay. But one question from Laura from Mytho at Home, and she's asking if there is a beginner's webinar available for Helpful Village when they hire new employees.
Okay, cool. So we need to think about that. We don't have a specific webinar for beginners, but I know we're starting several villages right now, so this might be a good time to do a one-off at least, so that we can bring several people in. So we will reach out. So basically, just Anastasia, you can write down the name of the person that asked for it, and then we will also post it on Slack, saying, you know, if other people that are interested in kind of a new beginner kind of webinar, the more we know, the sooner we can schedule it too.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. You had another one, or that was the last one?
If possible, could you scroll to the end of the list of the questions? Following the question about the tags and the groups, there are two more that came in the chat and they seem pretty quick to answer.
Okay.
Right at the end of the document.
Okay. Which one is it?
Two.
This one here?
This one and one right above it.
Okay. Okay, these are the extra bonus questions. Two groups created, one tag and one group. That's a little short for me, but we have Nancy on the call. So Nancy, can you explain this a little further to me? I think you're muted.
Is it this Nancy?
Yes. Yeah, Clayton Valley. I think this one question, yes, on the screen, right? Is it yours? That's saying that there are two groups created and one tag and one group. I think it was probably when we were discussing before.
Yeah,
with
because
MailChimp.
you had tags and you had groups listed under admin, and they're basically the same thing. But does it create two groups within MailChimp?
No, it shouldn't. Obviously, the thing is, like, sometimes in demo, because we use tags with different names, so I think just named similarly, but in your real-time kind of real operation, you will have, I mean, if it's a volunteer activity, it will be a group. And then if you're creating it under the tag people category, it will only create a tag. So it doesn't create both.
Okay.
But it just depends on the name. You know, if you name the tag in a weird way, well, then it would be in the tag with that name. And then Paulina, you said that this is the other one from Daily?
Yeah.
Right?
About the same topic.
Okay, let me see. I use the example of some student volunteers I've been working with. I could group them into students, but then maybe use the tag feature to specify which school year they are part of, or maybe tag them as either high school or college. But okay, I like this question. And Paulina, I'm happy you brought this up. Because our recommendation here, if you go back to people management groups, well, this is funny. Okay, let me refresh this page. People management groups. Okay, here. So basically, obviously, we give you these groups already. We don't recommend you create anything under mailing list. So, but you keep here just the groups that are given to you by Helpfully, those that are automatically managed. If you're creating volunteer activity for your service request, we recommend you create them here, and that will also become groups in MailChimp. And here also, you create them here, and it will show up in service request and also volunteer hours. And then they will become also groups in MailChimp. But now, anything you want to categorize people on, right, that is not a volunteer activity for a member or a volunteer activity for the organization, we recommend you always create them under tag people. And then if you create that other thing here, for example, you want to create a student, you can come here and you can say student. And then that's it. And you save it. And then this will become a tag in MailChimp later. It will become a tag in Helpful Village first, and then another. And then you can have multiple tags. You can have here, if you prefer having a student, and then have another tag, which is 2025. I'm going to save it. So you have that one here, and you can start coming in here and then putting people into that group. You know, you search them, and then I'm going to put Christina. So now you have a tag that's called Student 2025. You can call it anything you want. Now, if I want to go back and create another group here under tag people, and I say student, and I'm going to create a third group just for my example. It's a little bit intense. I'm not sure we need 3 groups for students, but this is 2024. If this makes sense for your organization, right, to have 3 groups, all the students, that will be this, and then the student of 2024. And if I go here, and then let's put here. Okay, I'm gonna put my mom's student. Oh, Nelda Robson. Okay, perfect. So now we have this student on 2024 is Nelda, right? And then if you go down here, and suddenly I have student 2025. If this makes sense for me, this is Christina. Okay, cool. And then I can have another group, which is student, and then you can combine them both here. And then here I could go back to this other group and say, okay, this is gonna be Nelda is here, but also Christina is also in the student. So now we have three groups. We have a group with all the students, who could be this, with a tag that is called student, and then two other groups, which are the more specific 2024 and 2025, that only include the students of those years. So it depends what you're trying to achieve, right? If it makes sense to have this level of details, and then you're okay with having more tags, or if you have a more targeted message and you need to know those groups separately, you can definitely do that. Now, coming back to the question, you were saying creating them as a group and then as a tag. I would say no, forget it. Just explaining just the vocabulary so that you can find in MailChimp that sometimes things are called group. But if you're doing your own personal customized groups that you want to call anything you want, I will always go under tag people and then name that group anything you want. In this case, we call it student 24 and 25 because it made sense for us there, and then put people in it. And then each one of these groups, it has become a tag. And then this tag is not automatically synced with MailChimp, but I can click on this button, would be add to MailChimp. So each group needs to be added to MailChimp individually. And now once it is added, I can synchronize with MailChimp. And then basically, now that we're doing that, those two people will be added to MailChimp, and in MailChimp, there would be a tag called student. And then you can send emails out either from here, people management, email messenger, and then here, new email. A new email now we're sending to tag people. And then here we have the student tag, and now I can send my message and I send here. You see here that student 2024 and 2025, they're not here yet because we have not added them to MailChimp. So if you want to email them, I add them to MailChimp, sync them, and then send the message out. If I want to have the classification in Helpful Village, kind of fine-grained, but the email message is going to be sent only to all students, I will only add student to MailChimp and then just send my message from here, type it, and then just send. So if you're doing your group management and if you want to sync custom stuff with MailChimp, always go under, tag people, create a new tag, and then and do that. I'm going to show another thing that is convenient, is that if you create a new tag and then you search a person and you go to the person's general tab, in this case, Christina, those tags that we created, there will also be visible here, right under the first name, last name, contact information. Here we added the tag student, and the checkbox is here. So if the same thing, if you go to the group and you add a person, it would check the checkbox on the personal profile, or if you check the checkbox in the personal profile, it would also add them to the group. So it's just two different visions of the same thing. Cool. And I think this needs to be, maybe there's other questions in the chat, but we really need to stop because I want to be mindful of people's time. So I know people make time in their schedule. Sometimes we go a little bit over when these extra bonus questions, but I think we should probably stop there for now. The conversation stays alive. If you have other questions, please use our support system under help here, the help center. You have other questions, you can submit them here. It's specific thing. And then if you have questions for the next webinar, if those can wait, you can send the email to hvusers@helpfulvillage.com and we'll discuss them in the Q&A webinar in the next month. That is maybe, I don't know what, September. I don't even know what month we're on. Okay, everybody, I think this was a very fun webinar, at least for me. And then I was happy to see you. I hope these questions are useful to you. This webinar was recorded, so we will post it on YouTube. And we also post all our webinars on Slack, a link to that webinar. So if there is something you want to review, it is still possible to review all our answers there soon when we post that video.